Kashmir, one of the most beautiful places in the world. For 72 years, India and Pakistan have been fighting over this mountainous region. Each country controls a portion of it. Each country would like to control all of it. Over the decades, the two nations have fought two wars over Kashmir. Tensions flared up again this week in a very serious way. In mid-February, terrorists from Pakistan claimed responsibility for an attack inside India. On Tuesday, India said its Air Force had struck those terrorists in Pakistan. On Wednesday, Pakistan said it had shot down two Indian aircraft, then released a video interview with one of the pilots. On Friday, that pilot was sent back across the border. So are the two nations back from the brink? Joining me now here in New York is Ravi Agrawal, CNN's former India bureau chief and now the managing editor of Foreign Policy. And Mosharraf Zaidi joins me from Islamabad. He's a columnist for the News International. Ravi, let me start with you. It feels like this kind of thing has happened in the past. Terror attack originating from Pakistan in India, the Indians get upset. What's different this time?
What's different this time, Fareed, is that India has responded in a more muscular way. And it's done so because, in part, it has elections coming up, but also because it isn't seeing this attack in isolation. It is looking at the last 20 years of attacks on Indian soil emanating from Pakistani territory. There was, of course, the 2002 attack on the Indian Parliament. There was the Mumbai attacks in 2008, which killed nearly 200 people, and then attacks in 2016 as well in Kashmir. So if you add all of those things up, the Indians will say that they've shown remarkable restraint thus far, and that this time enough was enough. There was a lot of goading from the Indian media for muscular action, and it seems Modi's responded. And it's important to state here that this is the first time since 1971 that India has sent fighter jets across the border. So this is an escalation on the Indian side. And if anything, if both sides can now see this as a victory of sorts, where they can tell their people that we've been muscular, we've done well, Pakistan can say that it has acted statesmanlike in returning this pilot, then we may be nearing a de-escalation at this stage.
Mosharraf, what does it tell us that this terror attack happened, assuming what, as I said, the terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed seems to have claimed responsibility for it. It doesn't seem like a moment where the Pakistani military, which tends to have an influence with these groups, would want to sour relations with India. The Prime Minister seemed to be looking for good relations. Does it mean that there's something else going on, that the Pakistani military does not have as much control over these groups as we think, or is this a random one-off?
Fareed, one of the questions that's been asked here in Pakistan repeatedly is what benefit does this offer to Pakistan in any way whatsoever? The accusation or the claim about Jaish-e-Mohammed being behind it obviously is backed by the video that the terrorists left behind. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, we have an army chief that's been working behind the scenes to de-escalate with India. In the run-up to the Pakistani election in July of 2018, there was a substantial, I would say a dramatic reduction in the violations of the line of control that tends to flare up whenever there's trouble between the two nations. And then you saw the new Prime Minister in Pakistan reach out to Narendra Modi not once but twice after taking office. So I think given this background and given the unique nature of the February 14th attack, there is definitely something that doesn't quite fit. And then, of course, as Ravi said, everything is sort of, I think the norms and the rules of engagement between the two countries have substantially changed as a result of India's attack in Balakot and Pakistan's response.
Ravi, there is a mystery here, but even with the Indian response, what exactly happened? So the Indians claim that they destroyed all these terrorist camps. The Pakistanis actually say you did nothing. There was no damage. The videos the Pakistanis have released seem to reinforce or confirm that view. And the two medias on both sides have completely different narratives about what happened.
Yeah, the correct answer is we actually don't know what happened, because the place that India claims it has bombed, journalists don't have access to in Pakistan. So unfortunately, where we're stuck is having statements from both governments and medias on both sides that believe those statements and are very willing to sort of parade those statements to the public and have the public believe in it. That isn't a bad thing. I mean, if that is what is going to lead to both sides feeling like they've achieved some degree of success, then that will allow them to save face in a way. So, absent American diplomacy, absent other global ways of mediating this conflict, it seems the media and social media has played a very powerful role here. That's not entirely bad.
Mosharraf, it seems to me just from the politics of it, it does look like Narendra Modi was very anxious to respond in a very tough way because he has these elections coming up. It plays to his coalition perfectly to be tough on Pakistan. And Imran Khan, the new Prime Minister of Pakistan, seemed quite statesmanlike and trying to diffuse things. Do you think that the Pakistanis will understand that Modi was playing politics and that there will still be a possibility for a real rapprochement?
I think so, Fareed. I think it's really clear from the conduct of the Prime Minister in Pakistan, and as you know, even in the best of times or the worst, the military is plays a significant role in these kinds of dynamics and the question of how to deal with India. But it seems from every statement and every sort of move from the Pakistani side that there's a real appetite, whether it's before the election, which I think is impossible given everything that's happened, but certainly after the election, I still anticipate that there will be a big push by Pakistan to reach out, as it has been even in these quite difficult times. So I think Pakistan seems genuinely interested in shifting the needle with India, and how much Narendra Modi is able to resist his instinct to rile things up for the sake of an election, I think, is a question that will be answered over the next 2.5 months as India goes to the polls. But if we can get there without any further damage, then I think the prospects for a summer of peace will be good.
Well, let's end on that hopeful note. Gentlemen, thank you both very much. Next on GPS, tiny Estonia's secret weapon against its bullying neighbor, Russia. How this digital nation found a way to fight back when we come back.